back for alumni events and graduations. And hey, you see you come in.
I'm good at that. It's called stealthy.
You know where the trap doors are.
Yeah, I got to escape hatches. You guys good for the night?
Well, good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order of the East Porter County School Corporation Board of Trustees this Monday, April the 27th, 2026. This is a work session. Would we all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Is there any guests who would like to give public input? There is none. Okay. Then we will move right along to discussion items. Item 2A is ESG Energy Savings Project Priorities.
So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Jacob Posley and his team. As you know, the board had selected through the RFP process, ESG to put some things together to work on saving the district money, looking at projects moving ahead. And so Kim and I had met with them and talked with Craig about trying to develop what some priorities for the board to consider. And I asked Jacob and his team to come talk the board through it a little bit, just to make sure that we're on course so that we can look at the PDA that we mentioned at the last school board meeting as well.
Okay.
So,
Good.
Jacob, thank you. Board members, Dr. Case, Kim, thank you for the time today. We really appreciate it. I'm going to stand back here kind of out of the way. We want to go through some of the things that we've been through specifically, introduce ourselves as the team that'll be working on the development on your behalf, and then talk about some of the scopes that are being requested here today. So I'm Jacob Posley. I've been in design and construction for over 20 years, specifically with Energy Systems Group, ESG, as a team lead project developer for about a decade as of this month. So we specialize, the team you see before us, we kind of get to pick our paths when we come to ESG, and our selection was K through 12 as our kind of our major in what we like to do and wanted to learn about and be trained on. So this is what we consider is our best Midwest United States, specifically Indiana, K through 12 school team. So we are start to finish everything we do. So if we started with you, we're going to be the ones at the end of the day overseeing construction with our other team members. Even after construction's over, if we have warranty issues or paperwork that needs to be filled out or just questions you have, you call us. So we're here with you start to finish. Greg?
Yeah, thank you, Jacob. My name is Greg Lang. I'm a professional engineer in Indiana. And like Jacob said, we've been specializing in K through 12 for the last 12 years in performance contracting, specifically mechanical, HVAC, boilers, chillers, solar, anything that can reduce the energy bills for our customer. So we've been doing this for about 10 years together, Jacob and I, and this team, and with Mario as well. And looking forward to getting started here.
Very similar background to Greg's. I think the only difference is I have a little bit more time. I'm a little older than he is. And been in the industry for 35 years, and primarily 95% of my work has been K through 12 and higher education universities.
Okay, so this is kind of a brief agenda that we have today. We're going to get through things, I think, pretty easily with a lot of time for questions at the end. But if you have a question that you do not want to lose, feel free to stop us. We're happy to take it on the fly. So first and foremost, we just want to say thank you for the selection, your faith in our submission that we gave to you. Our plan and our goal is to work on the confidence that you've already given us through that submission and our selection, and really grow that confidence through finishing the development, getting through a bid process, and then actually constructing something that approaches and accomplishes goals for your top priorities. So that is our top priority. We're going to talk briefly just a little bit about what we did originally when we had first met the administration, went through the school district, did an analysis for you, a full engineering analysis, and came up with some things that we feel accomplishes some of the goals and the priorities, not just like this year, but we kind of look a few years out. As you know, we're a multi-phase partner. So we'll review some of that. Then the requested scopes of work, we'll go through those individually, take any and all questions that you have specifically, and then move through what happens next and any questions that you have over the PDA itself and what's involved in that fee that's within the PDA, and how that's paid or not paid. So you know about us, you saw our submission, you've heard about us, but we are an Indiana founded company. We're still operated out of where we were founded, which is Evansville. We're out of Greater Indianapolis office. I live in Noblesville, he lives in Fishers. But we're a pretty large company. We've done a heck of a lot of work in this procurement. 95% of what we do is through the procurement of performance contracting. We do some construction management and some other things, but that is generally when our school boards or we do a little city work, somebody asks us to do it. It's usually through our performance contracting, but if we're asked to do work under a different procurement by an existing client, we would consider it. But we're not out looking at a construction management procurement. We run it through performance contracting. But we have just over 350 employees. We have 88 engineers, and we have some really good specialized professional engineers like these two. So we kind of hand selected this team for you guys. So we're definitely prepared to do a very, very good job. You really know most of this for us. I think one thing that I will say that will come into play later with one scope of work is we are vendor neutral. Unlike a lot of performance contractors, we're not a manufacturer of anything. We don't manufacture equipment. We don't manufacture controls. We don't manufacture anything. On top of that, we don't have contracts with equipment manufacturers or control manufacturers or any other type of equipment. So when I say we're neutral, we don't care what you do. We want to know you, know your facilities, as well as anybody on staff, work with your existing staff and your administration and accomplish your goals and kind of do what we're told to do. So we want what's best for the district. So when it comes to bidding out or looking at different types of equipment, we don't care what it is. We have no interest in anything but doing a good job for you so we can work for you for years to come. That's our only goal. So vendor neutral to us is very, very important.
So like as Jacob was saying, one of the biggest reasons we are here is to reduce your NIPSCO bills. They've increased up 22%. They're looking at doing it again as well in the near future. So we are looking at many different ways to do that. The biggest way right now is solar PV, solar photovoltaic. And we're looking at analyzing what we've done is we've analyzed where we would put solar on the roof. We've analyzed the NIPSCO bills to appropriately size them. 4 years ago, they ended net metering. Net metering was a way that if you produced more electricity than you used, you could bank it and use it for up to a year. So it made it very easy to calculate and determine solar sizing. Since that's gone away, you don't want to put too much solar on because their NIPSCO will only give you about 4 cents and they bill you like 26 cents. So you really want to size it appropriately. And that's what we've done here. We've gone through it. We've done a deep dive for all your schools. We've analyzed where it would go on the roof. We've analyzed if you would like to do solar canopies. I know that we're leaning more toward the roofing at this point, but we're doing an analysis for both of you so you guys can make that decision on your own.
Because we have talked about doing, like, especially here at house with that long, we talked about doing a canopy for those long entryways.
And so everything that we'll give you is backed by the math. So, we'll give you, here's the roof scenario, here's the cost, here's what we get back from NIPSCO, here's how we insulate ourselves from NIPSCO in the future. They're gonna be back next month asking for more money. They have the ability to do that every 18 months, and they're gonna be there doing it, as we know by the Northwest Superintendent's group that's there fighting it every time. So they will be there. So we'll give you the math on how we insulated you from the future. But, and again, the options don't matter to us. We just want to do what's best for you and do what you want. So we're going to give you the roofing options. We'll give you the canopy options, and then you guys select because you'll have math on both.
Just a quick question.
Yes, you.
I think it's Thomas Jefferson, the elementary school and middle school. They have a parking area, and over the top of the parking area, in certain portions of solar array, it looks like.
Yeah, you could do canopies. So that's what the right picture would be.
Yeah.
That's over the parking lot area. So we'd have down the center aisle would be structural steel, and then it would be sloped facing to the south. And it'd be tall enough so buses wouldn't hit them. They wouldn't be able to run into them or anything like that. So yeah, it just depends on, if you want to do roofing in addition to the solar, or if you want to do canopies, pricing wise is one thing that we're analyzing for you, but in addition to serviceability, maintenance, et cetera.
And cars can park underneath and be shaded.
Sure.
Right.
And one thing we do naturally, which I know you generally have staff that does this naturally, but we're doing it in our own little vacuum just in case, which is we're out there looking for grants, rebates, any type of free money we can get you as a district. We're looking for that. So while this is one of your top requested scopes, this comes with a very large grant that is larger than we're generally ever able to give you. And it has an expiration date. So we'll have all that information when we come to you and present the costs. We're also going to be presenting to you, did we get you 30? Did we get you 40% back of the total costs? That'll be in a single check when you turn it on. So we'll have all that information for you. So there'll be a lot of good news tied to this specific scope because there's a lot of money to be had.
Right. And the reason we're looking at it right now is because if you don't do the solar, the tax credit that Jacob's referring to ends end of 2027. So if you don't get it installed by then, it goes away. And right now we're looking at about 42.5% in estimated savings on the cost. And that's a check back from the IRS. So that's why it's huge to be able to look at this and analyze this for your district right now.
An option could be is if you wanted to do 2/3 of it now and use the bond for that, and then you could use the rebate to help fund additional.
My question would be, when you put them on rooftops, I know originally rooftops, like home rooftops, it was encouraged to be on sloping roofs. Most of our roofs that I see you have them on are on flat roofs.
Yes.
What kind of degradation is it going to cause? Is it going to cause to those roofing components when you put solar up there?
Yeah, good question. So what we have here is the sloping. I'll tackle that one first. The slope, these are flat roofs. The metal racking system that they are put on, when we install the panels, they are put at about 11 to 12% angle. So that takes care of the angle. When you go ahead and let's say you either replace or don't replace your roofing, we put another membrane down that's equal in the same manufacturer that was on the roof. So if it's Firestone, we put Firestone down. It would be a whole other membrane that gets put down, and then the metal racking gets put on top of that. And it's weighed down with CMU blocks. That's how it's weighed down.
Does it affect the load? I mean, some of these.
So we will analyze that. So we have a structural engineer that will analyze that and prove that it does meet. If it doesn't, then we would have to add. Let's say 8 years of doing solar, we've never had to add any type of structure to the roofing. So
Can you tell? And the print is so small on these today, even though I love paper, it's so small, even with my 300s, I can't realize. In the Indianapolis area, you're centered Fishers in Evansville. What are some of the large projects that you've done there?
So we've done Evansville, we've done the city. Greg was specifically the lead engineer on one of the, well, it's not one of them, it's the most unique solar project that we've ever done, which was for the city of Bloomington. And if you want to take it, was on 36 sites. Go ahead.
Yeah, we did. We looked at all their properties. So we looked at 96 different buildings on 60 properties. We narrowed it down to about 30 or 29 properties. They ended up adding 3 more. So we did 32 total properties. They were on metal roofing, They were fixed on metal roofing. We had them in big fields, 1 megawatt on a wastewater treatment facility, 400 kW on another facility. At the Twin Lakes Rec Center, it had a large sloped roof or a large flat roof. We did a ballasted system similar to what would be on this, 650 kW. Overall, it was 3.7 megawatts of solar that we provided the customer. So we have experience doing this. Out here, we're looking at doing anywhere from 200 to, let's say, 400 kW right as of right now per facility, just depending on whether or not we go with canopies, roof, and which facility it is and what the electrical usage is.
You're showing the options as canopy and roof. What about in large open fields that we have?
Yeah, we can do that as well if you have large open fields.
Stay away from that. Because just with the input that we received when Morgan was looking at their solar fields, and the other part is where we would have to put them. I don't know, and they would be able to speak better. We have such a long distance to get them to our service area that I don't know as if it would save us that much.
We can, within the PDA, we can look at whatever you want. And we've been, especially recently, even with this beautiful grant that you can get that's expiring. And I mean, you guys have been hit twice. Like, it's not really fair. Other school districts that we deal with, 1 hour south of you, they're not hit twice. They're only hit once. You got SEA 1, and then you've got Big Brother, 27% in one hit and 9% on your gas 8 months before that. It's kind of unbearable. So it's really not fair. We don't see that anywhere else in the state except for here. So, you know, our goal is we're going to get you that money back with our traditional efficiencies, and then we're going to protect you with solar and insulate you from. But solar has to be perfect. Like, we don't want to produce any more than you're using. It's got to be really perfect. But we can look at the ground, but we have been in cities and in schools. We've had a lot of farm influence, if you would, and this is my experience. No one else's that have told me that they don't want solar on ground within the area of certain farms, so it causes kind of political havoc. And we've been dealing with that with a few of our clients right now. So if we need to look at it, we will look at it for you. No problem. And then it'll depend on, like Greg was saying, the length of the runs, like how much do we have to do to get it to the power source, and so on and so forth. Those are big expenses, but within the PDA, we'll look at it if it's something you choose.
Where you've done it for many years, my question about roofs would be where you've done it and had it on roofs for, what's the longest you've had it on roofs and not had to replace roofs? And I guess my question there is, when you have to replace a roof and you have solar on it, what do you do?
Yeah, that's great. These are great questions. Well, I'll start with the first one. Let Greg take the second one. First of all, you want to have it. No good money after bad is really one of our policies. So the timing of your roof is gigantic, right? It's one of your largest expenses. It's a top 3 expense that you have in your budget. And so we don't want to put solar on a 9-year-old roof, right? We don't want to do that unless we absolutely had to, so that we have all these other ways to do it. But when the timing's up and we're putting it on a 20-year-old, well, that's perfect. We just replace the roof, so on and so forth. And in terms of putting it on the roof, the solar warranties they're going to outlast your roof. So will you explain, like, taking them off, what you do have to do because it's going to last longer than your roof 22 years from now.
So that's why we've also been coordinating with your administration. There's a lot of different roofing options now. You can remove, replace, do a tear off. You can do a liquid membrane with a coating on it. And they do have 15, 20, 30-year warranties. And I know the administration's looking at putting 30-year warranty on roofing where we do have solar to match or get as close as possible to the solar. So there's a lot of coordination that has been taking place there, and that will continue to take place. And then the other roofs you guys can pick 15, 20, or 30 year, however you want to do that for those roofs. So,
but that is the thing. You would have to take it off, which you can do, and reinstall it at that time, 30 years down the road.
In
To
general,
answer your full question.
in general, it adds about 5 years of life to the roof because you're adding another membrane underneath it. So you're technically not even exposing the initial membrane to sun and degradation. So you're actually adding life to the underneath the solar area.
Quality materials with roofing.
Yes, but-
It's a lot in the last few years as well.
And yeah, and there is a cost, and we did analyze that initially and showed administration a cost 20 years down the road, roughly what that might be in today's numbers, for removing solar and putting it back up to have to re-roof.
And we said this in another meeting, so we're always thinking of ideas to save you money, right? A, we want to do a really good job, design and build things that you need and do a good job doing it. And then that way we can continue on because we know what you need 3 years from now, as soon as you don't select it for a phase 1 or phase 2, right? So we could be thinking about that for you right now. So that's how we're your partner for several years. And you selected us under a state statute that allows you to continue to hire us as long as you're happy with the quality of work, the communication, everything that we're doing for you. So, our incentive is to do a very, very good job for you. Okay, so we're constantly thinking of ways to save your money. One of the ideas is you have a facilities leader that knows your roofing very, very well. He knows a lot about the different possibilities when it comes to a membrane, what type of roof. He's got bids. He knows a lot of the contractors. So we took it upon ourselves to say, hey, you guys can handle your roofing direct instead of us. Save some money that way. We'll help manage and coordinate it within a solar effort or anything else that we're doing that might affect it HVAC or mechanical wise. Save you money by taking that out of our contract. Let him lead it. We'll work with him. We'll tag team it in terms of project management and we'll work with it in terms of coordinating it. And then you save a lot of money because you can do it and you have the skills to do it yourself and you have the relationships already in place to do it. So I don't think a lot of construction managers would sit here and say, well, let's do it that way. So we really will be looking at things in that way. If you can do it yourself, then do it. And then we'll do the other things that we specialize in.
So currently, we do have some quotes on what that would cost. The biggest challenge is when Kim and I had conversation with Ice Miller, who is our bond counsel, they cautioned us about the amount of money that it is. And so if it is redoing the roof, you've got to go out and you've got to have an engineer or an architect design the RFQ. So then you can post it and advertise it in the paper, which then you're paying that. However, if it's considered maintenance, you don't have to do that. So our attorney is doing some research so that I can get a legal opinion on whether it is maintenance or an actual redoing the roof. Because most of the people that we've talked to say that they do it in the maintenance category. But I just want to make sure that we're not putting the school at risk. So that way we can go through, because we do have the ability to potentially put a 30-year membrane down. And then we put that other on there. So it should be about the similar to what the life expectancy of those panels are. One of the reasons too, not just about the farmland, but the other part that I was looking at in choosing the roof is because when you go to replace where you have to dispose of the stuff, you've got concrete and post and all. It is so much easier and cleaner to take that off the roof than it is to pull it out of the field.
I have a question. So the two pictures that you have on there, is that option 1 or an option 2, or is that the whole option, like canopies?
It's an option 1, option 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it would either be canopies or.
It'd be either or.
Okay.
You can do it a combination of
Yeah.
both also.
You
as
can
well.
really do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wasn't sure if that was the total.
Yeah, it was like an
Yeah.
option 1, option
Okay.
2.
So for our PDA, we haven't fully developed. We just did some initials. So, because like you mentioned at the Bloomington job, same thing, it doesn't work everywhere. We have to know it works first, and then we know what combinations will work in that specific area for each school. So we just did some preliminary analysis.
And just to let you know too, putting those canopies up are more expensive than
Correct.
putting it on the roof.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes.
A lot of structural work has to be done.
And the other concern that I have, just speaking on an operations, Now you have additional things that you have to snowplow around.
Well, and I also wondered about like student drivers, if they were to
Correct.
smash into one of them or something like that.
There are concerns like that. And I will, just to throw the caveat, because I'm always thinking about that grant. They do give you more money when you're building that structure because you're building a structure. So the percentage does go up on the, now is it enough to make up for it? We'll put the math in front of you. It might not be, but the percentage goes up drastically because you're building a structure and they want to help you cover that.
Yeah,
So,
it's about the same price if you replace the roof, and put in solar as it is to do the canopy, but you get almost double, or not double, like 30-40% more on your credit back from the ITC. But going membrane, it's gonna be less expensive than remove replace, much less, over half. I think it's like 40% of the cost of a remove replace. And you can get a 30-year warranty on the membrane. It's pretty incredible.
What you're saying.
yeah, so
Yeah.
within the PDA, that's why the PDA, we're going to this will all be fully developed. And so you'll have a lot of decisions and you'll make decisions and you'll tell us what you want to do, but you'll have the math, you'll have the structural science to know how the weight affects it, and the weight's never gonna be a really big deal. It's just not enough weight. It'll be the loads, but you'll have all that, so we know that you're good making whatever decision you want. You are in a good, safe place to do it. We're at risk, not you, but when you tell us to do something, we're taking on a good risk because we did everything through our engineers, not only our mechanical engineers, but our structural engineers. And then the math's right. We're gonna fully bid this out, so the costing that we're giving you is right.
One other question. So what does solar do to your insurance rates as far as increasing or decreasing them? And what kind of, I've heard stories from homeowners that have had solar that it's been destroyed in severe storms. How do insurance companies look at it? Your experience?
That's something we'd have to look into.
Mr. Martin,
Yeah,
you got me on that one.
that's a good
I have
question.
not heard that question before. So that's one I will be making phone calls on your behalf. That's a good one.
And generally, the school
That's
district.
because I so do paper.
I like that. I have not had that one, but I can get you the answer.
Your rates will go up simply because the values will go up,
Mhm.
because you
Sure.
have additional values.
But I'm wondering more from a
Correct
reliability
perspective.
standpoint.
Yeah.
And
I got you. I will.
I would
figure that
tell
out.
And my other question about this is, and I'm neutral. Right now, I'm neutral in how to do it. Are you going, as you propose to us, is there a possibility of it being combinations at each site?
Yes.
Some on-
Yes,
some-
as long as it
Yes.
works well and it does its job, then you can-
And here's what I'll.
you can have a
here's
combination.
caveat I'll throw out to you. A lot of schools built long sidewalks in recent years.
Yeah.
That you have to walk in inclement weather, and
Yep.
drivers don't drive under it. But I'm wondering about the potential for it to be dual purpose of a covering and as an entrance into a building.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
We did talk about that, specifically at Couts here. We just have to make sure that we do the shade analysis on it. If there's gonna be predominantly shade over it, it wouldn't make sense to spend the money on solar in those particular locations. But we could do a covered walkway and then transition to solar where it gets to the solar part, or where it's always sunny. We could definitely do that. It would just fit on top of that covered walkway. But absolutely, we could do any of the walkways.
And that's just an example. There could be example where it totally works.
100%.
But the shade analysis, when I said, is it gonna work or not? The shade analysis is gonna tell us, do we go any further in our development, or we just know this is gonna work?
Mhm.
So,
You mentioned that buses can fit under, as when you look at the larger vehicles. So
Oh, the
normally,
canopies.
what is the height that you normally have, like just a regular parking lot one?
So that would be like 15 feet to the bottom, and then it would slope up. So it would go like 15 to about 18, 20 feet, somewhere in that range. So it's engineered, that's why the structure is a cost lot, because you're having to deal with the wind loads, snow load, and it's not like there's four corners, it's right down the middle. So it has to be very robust in order for that to handle those forces.
And Indiana has just recently been announced to be in the Great Plains, has to be with all the wind we've had lately.
You just figured it out.
It is not official yet, but that is my analysis, because our wind has been crazy lately.
Today was
Some
earlier today.
Today was pretty rough.
It's crazy on the way up
I was
here.
getting pushed around
Oh, my
everywhere.
goodness.
So, well, while we're out there looking at the, your electrical, where we're tying in for solar, we're also looking at other ways to reduce your electrical bill. And, one of the best ways is electrical transformers. The electrical transformers you have at all these, a lot of these at the schools. Some of them, may not work because they're newer, they're follow more, efficient rules from after post 2007. Where they implemented a lot more efficient rules for those newer transformers, but prior to that, they're generally a good fit for testing to see if they need to be replaced, and then they have some significant savings.
And just for everybody, these are your building transformers, not transformers up on a pole. These are for
Yeah.
all the building
Yeah.
services.
Yeah, interior electrical transformers where it converts the power from a 480 down to 208 low voltage 120. So we're looking at that right now, analyze that. In addition, we're looking at adding a transformer at Counts and then also at Morgan Township as well.
Generator.
Sorry, generator, what did I say? Transformer. Yeah, generator, emergency generator systems. And what we're looking at serving there is not only boilers for heating and the pumps associated with that. We're looking at serving all your food service as well with your walk-in coolers, walk-in freezers, things of that nature.
IT.
And IT.
Okay.
In addition to that, you have a lot of infrastructure from the late 90s, 99 specifically. Pretty much most of your facilities, except for the Washington Township Elementary, have air-cooled chillers that are circa 1999. So generally those last around 20, 22 years, if you can make them last. You guys have done a great job taking care of them, so they lasted a lot longer. But yeah, you're sitting on a, expensive to maintain. Refrigeration's old refrigeration, R22, you're not allowed to use that. They've changed refrigerations twice since then. So it's time for these guys to get removed, replaced with high efficient chillers. While we're going through and looking at your facility, we are also analyzing a quick and easy way to remove all your old caulking. If there's holes in the wall, your caulking, your mortar joints, that allows bugs and water infiltration, which could cause damage in the future. It also causes air infiltration, so now you're having to heat and cool, extra air from outside coming in the building. We'll go through, analyze, and make sure we determine where all that's located, where it needs to be replaced, and then just do it at one quick time period.
These are smaller dollar
Yeah.
tasks, but they really
They
are
really help out.
really important. We can design and build the best system in the world for your building, and if it's not high and tight, it won't work right.
Mhm.
So the building envelope, although smaller cost, is super important. So it's something we always attack when we're looking at systems. Okay, so here that's everything we looked at in our preliminary analysis and just went through, I think very successfully, and just to get to know your facilities and get to know you and some of the goals that you're looking at, the vision and the strategy moving forward. So, after our submission and our selection, these are the requested scopes of work. So we went over a couple of them. So we went over solar, I think, pretty well, electrical transformers. So these are what we want to take now. These are in your PDA, which is project development agreement, because we are now in project development now that we're selected. So these are right now the top priorities. And within the PDA, you have a fee. And within that fee, it's for us to fully develop this, fully engineer it, take this out. You now are in control of your bidders list, okay, by state law. So we're going to ultimately bid this out to a not to exceed. When we have exactly what you want, we construct it, right? But to get us there, we fully develop these. So to give you a couple examples before we take any questions and kind of go through the rest that we haven't talked about. If we develop something and at the end of the day, we bid it out and we give you the cost and you don't like it now, or something else jumped up that you want us to do. And this gets removed from a phase one, and maybe it's phase two, it could be phase three, but maybe it gets kicked down and tabled to phase two. No good money after bad. What we developed is still there. You won't have to pay for that again. We have it, it's done. We will have to rebid it at the time that you're ready to do it, but it won't be any bad money spent. And our PDA fee that you've seen in that document, we're paying all the designers and engineers, and then our costs for engineering and anyone else we bring in to look at a specialty item, we pay them all. So you're keeping that money, making money off that money for the 6-8 months, however long it takes until we're actually fully to construction. And then it becomes part of the construction bill. So that's another benefit of us. We take care of all the upfront costs where you're normally paying an architect, you're normally paying the engineers, you're normally doing the analysis through another engineering firm. We pay for all of that. We don't want that fee. It's part of the construction. We want it in the construction. In my 10 years, I've never been paid that PDA fee. It's only activated if we don't go to construction on something. So we're not hard nosed. We're pretty flexible because again, like we're not just saying this, we want to work for you for a long time. Okay, so it doesn't have to be everything. And the things that we did develop that you might table, again, that money's still good. We'll rebid it when you're ready and you can build it whenever you're ready. So there's no pressure on any of this. These are just top priority and top requests as we know it, that we would like to finish off in the PDA as you have it and get approval for the execution of that PDA. And then we will fully go through all of these, get to the point, we'll give you a bidders list. We like to start obviously locally for all skilled talents that we have locally, kind of move out regionally, and then fill in the gaps that we have at that point from people farther away if we have to. But we'll have a bidders list that you get to see, and everybody, Craig, Dr. Case, everybody gets a look at it, add or subtract. You can take people off the list now. This is not a public bid situation, so you can remove bidders. That is your right under the state statute, and you can add bidders. So once that's done and we know we're good, we have a very, very thorough pre-qualification, so we know they're still in good shape, and these are good people that are qualified that are going to be able to give us a good number and then do what they say they're going to do. So we have these guys and a couple other people on our staff will be qualifying them, so we'll keep you informed in that. And then once we're finished with the engineering, we're going to develop all these and we're going to bid it out to them. We're not asking them what to bid. We're working with them, showing them exactly what to bid. So we're getting close to apples as we possibly can because we have the drawings and the engineering. So that way we're taking a lot of the guesswork and the shades of gray out of bidding. So, and then at the end of the day, we're going to come present a final cost for this phase 1 package, give you the individual costs, and then now we can discern and make good decisions on the package. And you have the flexibility until that contract is signed, that if you decide to take out 1 or 2 of those and table it, that's okay. Then we're just going to fully build and put in the contract what you want. So you have a lot of flexibility. So if something comes up, we might even, if something comes up you wanted us to add, I don't think we'd be against that. We'd try to rush and develop whatever that new priority that popped up. And that has happened in the past. So any one of those you want to go through kind of more specifically. And then we have 2 at the end that I want to address specifically that are not on this list.
Yeah, so I'll just briefly go through. The fire alarm system mainly is at Washington Township Middle School, High School. It's circa 1999. The panel was recently replaced in 2018-ish. So it has some good bones there.
Part of it.
Part of it, correct. It has some good bones. And so we would look at replacing the rest of the remainder portion of it, bringing it up to current code. So that's just the fire alarm. Lighting occupancy sensors, you already have LED throughout the district. You have lighting occupancy sensors, again, throughout most of your schools. Again, this would be Washington Township Middle School, High School, where we would add those. We're also looking at removing or maybe potentially replacing the lighting occupancy sensors at the other schools that you currently have because they're on battery. And we're looking at seeing what that option is for you if you want to go down that path or not. To go hardwired so you don't have to replace batteries in the future. We talked about everything else here. The other one is the restroom hand dryers. Right now you deal with the issue with paper towels in your middle school, high schools, just kind of making a mess. And so in order to eliminate that, we're we're actually going to get an estimate together for putting hand dryers in at all your middle school, high school restrooms.
Always cheaper, isn't it? Than
So we're
paper?
developing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Long-term, yeah, an initial cost of installing the power is significant, but once you get out of the maintenance or
And it's one of those things, it has a tiny bit of sentimentality to it. Some people, they had paper towels when they were in school and they would like to still have paper towels, and that's okay. So it's just, sometimes this is an item that can really go either way with the school district, but it's a lot easier on operations just to have a nice, efficient, sturdy, hand dryer.
That flows a little harder than the ones that we have.
Yes, and newer,
Pretty much.
I can imagine those are probably draining as well, so. On these scopes, any specific questions on development of these scopes?
My question would be, in your fee structure, but
Yes,
is it based on the number of things we're asking you
Yeah.
to do? What's it based on?
yes, sir, absolutely it is, yep. And that kind of takes me to there's two more scopes here to talk about. But yes, that we're fully, and that's why I'm telling you, if you remove 3, we'll still rebid them and build them for you whenever you like. And we will not charge you for any more development. The development is over. Now, the prices will change, up or down, and usually up with construction. If we do it 2 years from now, we'll rebid it for you, but we won't be redeveloping it because it'll still be, unless something happened to that space, our development will still be good. So our fee is based on the complexity of these, the time that we have. Now, compared to, I think you guys have probably done a lot of engineering studies on their own, but more importantly, you've probably hired a lot of architects over the years. So this fee, it's one of the reasons why we're not in business of doing studies. We're in the business of building and helping you out with tough problems over the years. So this fee is probably half the traditional, let's say 4.6 to 6.8% an architect, depending on what you have in that fee. This is probably half of that, maybe a little bit less. Mr. Martin, does that answer your question or? Okay. So the other two, and these,
So yeah,
we're not doing our, go ahead.
so these are the construction. These are, like Jacob said, these are the prices that we're gonna be putting construction numbers to.
Not too excited. You can go to contract and we can start building something for you by the time we're done with this on all of these.
And then the next 2 here, are more for feasibility.
And so we're not doing our job. So I told you, we're very good at doing what we're told, getting to know you, getting to know the vision, and just helping solve problems that are your top priorities. So that's how this team has been successful and done multi-phase with most of our clients. It's not being like, we can be as creative as you like, but that's not what pays the light bills. It's really helping you out with real-time problems that are on your top 1 through 5. So we're very good at that. We'll start with geothermal. We're not doing our jobs if we don't bring something up, if it could work, and if there's a chance that it might work really well. So this wasn't necessarily a request by the administration. What started this one is geothermal. When geothermal works well, man, it works well. It'll take your heating and your cooling down 35 to 55%. It'll make your day. Okay, but it's very advanced tech. It's got to work very, very well. There's a lot of factors underground, very far underground, including aquifers that have to be there. So the reason why we wanted to dump a little time, and this is your least amount of time on any of our development. We have very little in for this, but we just wanted to see if it works because it's also included in that IRA grant. Okay, so we'll know pretty quickly in a matter of just a couple of weeks, I think. Will this even work for you? It's kind of like the shade analysis on the solar. Will it work? And if it won't work, or we think it's not going to be a good payback, we won't even bother with it. But we know the IRA out of the Office of the IRS will pay you 40% for this. So we felt like we owed it to you to look at it. It wasn't a request or a top priority like the others, but we felt like we should do this for you if it doesn't cost too much and we've got very little money into looking at it. And if it doesn't work, we're done with it. We won't talk about it. And if it does, we'll put some math in front of you to look at the next step.
My question about geothermal would be, it seems like geothermal is done more in new construction than isn't the cost to do it on an existing structure considerably more than to do it on?
That's if you were to do geothermal on every single classroom and all throughout the building. So this geothermal is different. So we're looking at mainly doing infrastructure. So it would provide you heating and cooling just in the mechanical room. And so you don't have to replace any of your equipment, like any air handling equipment, any classroom unit vents, none of that gets touched or replaced. And so the ideal scenario that you have right now is you have chillers that are deferred maintenance. You have boilers that are deferred maintenance at several schools. So that's a good opportunity to say, hey, let's look at geothermal because you're going to add heating and cooling back in. You have some newer boilers that you've added, which could be used as supplemental heating to that as well. So it's an ideal situation that you're in right now that could lean you toward that. But we're also looking at, the serviceability. How is this going to be serviced? What's the cost of that for you if you do that outside of your internal staff? What's the cost of going through and actually training your staff? The reliability of the equipment. So these are all things we're looking at in addition to that. Also, it's not a typical geothermal area. A lot of times you'll come in and you'll have 100 wells. You have to dig up a football field or an empty field or a parking lot. This technology is extremely new, and the aquifers that Jacob mentioned allows us to be able to only have 1 to 2 wells dug about 400 feet deep. And so the aquifers are very important. If you don't, what you could do is you could pump up and then re-inject that back in, but it increases your cost. So that's why we're looking at it from an
In the
extremely
space
high
of the
level.
wells, think of a 4 by 4 foot concrete
Mhm.
pad. That's it. We're not tearing the thing up.
Yeah, we're not tearing anything up.
But again, we are not a geothermal company, so we don't, again, it's not, we want you to be happy when I say, but we do not care if you do this or don't. We just want to put something in front of you that works. So if the bells go off and like, okay, this is gonna work, then we're gonna come back to you and say, hey, guys, here's the math. We think this is gonna work. So here's your reduction. Here's what we target, what we think it's gonna cost you, and here's what it would cost to fully develop it. But it has to pass all the STEAM tests that we
Right.
have. And if it doesn't, at least we did our job as your partner, is look into something that can be really good for a long, long time and get you 40% back from the federal government. So that was kind of the driving
So
charge of
it's
this.
more efficient with a shallow or a deep aquifer.
If you have an aquifer period, it's efficient because what's happening is you're removing the heat or injecting the heat with water running across that steel well. So it's a 12-inch well. Normal, typical geothermal wells use like an HDPE, so it's a plastic, very hard plastic that goes down and up, and they're like 2 inches each down and up. So this is a big well, but it's one that goes down about 200 feet, I believe, actually in that we've looked at so far up in Washington Township, and then it gets more shallow as we head toward Couts.
So that's what we're looking at now, is that helps keep the cost down and makes it more efficient. If we can find that here, maybe this is worth talking about. If not, maybe it's not.
With the efficiencies of 35 to 55% is huge. And in addition with the ITC, if the 40% credit wasn't there, we probably wouldn't even be talking about this.
Yeah, no.
So,
No, honestly, and this was just us trying to do our job as a partner to bring something up to talk about that when it does work well, it's a home run. But we don't want to put a lot of money in unless we know that it does. But we feel like, just like solar, we know where it's going to work and where it doesn't after just a very little analysis. So we're not going to take a lot of time, and it's not going to cost much money.
Right.
And it won't be a huge topic. It'll either be on and it'll be part of traditional development, or it'll just go away.
Another thing included in the PDA currently.
To the status that I just said, meaning we're gonna get it to the point to where we know it works and we think, okay, your reduction numbers are really good. And then now we have the IRA, and then we have a projected cost, and then we put that in front of you. And then we're saying it'll take this much to fully develop it and design it, which is in addition to this. We just have a study in the PDA right now. So because we don't know, it might just be gone in 2 weeks. So, but that would be another meeting where we present that to you for your approval, disapproval, or take it out of here, whatever you want.
What's
The credit lasts, it's the same credit as the solar, right? And same time?
it does not end the same time. It
As
lasts
soon as they
longer.
expire,
Yeah.
at the same time frame. Yeah,
I think right now it's till 2032, I believe.
yeah. Why, I have no idea. but
What's
yeah.
nice about this system too is we can use your existing piping infrastructure. That saves a lot of money as well.
Yeah, and reuse all your equipment. We're not replacing all your internal equipment anywhere. It's just a good fit with where chillers and boilers need to be replaced. Let's look at it now. now's the time. So,
So yeah, this was all, really all us, just we owe it to you, we looked at it, and then it kind of be yes or no pretty quick, I think. So, the second one, secure front entrance. I think, Mario, you can talk about this. I know this is definitely a priority or something that needs to be done at some point. So we have enough money to develop some schematics with an architect that we have, and really give you some options and then give you some targeted costs of what this will be. That will help you fit it in your budget, saying, okay, this, I like it, this is phase one, or no, that's a little much, or let's put this in phase two, and then we kind of leave it be, or finish it all off and bid it out and see where it comes out, and then we'll make our decision there. Those will kind of be your three decisions.
I guess it's easier to show it up here. So right now, your entrance to the school is right here. So we had walked with an architect and Dr. Case to kind of get an idea of what we can do to improve the flow into the space. And the other thing is a secure entrance. Most schools now are required to have an entrance, so set of double doors so nobody can come into school and do things that they shouldn't be doing. So what we thought after talking with our architect and Dr. Case is making a larger area in here, put the set of double doors here, a canopy here. So what that's going to do is when there's events going on and when students are coming into the building, you have a canopy protecting them from the rain. You'll have the secure entrance here where the students can come in, and then when there's parents or somebody else who wants to come in, they would get checked in here where they can't go through without getting buzzed in and seeing somebody at the front door. And then this area here is going to be larger. So think about when there's basketball games or events going on at a school, you have an area where people congregate here and then move into the athletic area. And then also we had once you come in through here, you can walk into this area and get into the gym as well. So this is just a preliminary schematic right now. There's a couple other areas we're looking at doing some work in the office up here, and then some work in one of the bathrooms in the facility as well.
Where's north on that map?
That's South Street.
it's
No, I'm sorry, it's at the top.
kind of northeast.
So, where this came from is this. This is here's our current entry. So this is the south. Okay, this is our current entry. As we're going through with the applied skills, there's some changes and we're gonna give you a little update about how that's looking. So there's some conversation about making some tweaks in the office so that we can accommodate the applied skills, which is currently the teacher cafeteria. And in doing that, we had Fanning and Howie come in and give us a rendition of what it could look like if we changed and put all that over here. So Mario gives me way too much credit because I was in the meeting for about 5 minutes, because that's the day that I came. I was at PCES for something else. So they had gone through and worked with Craig and Mr. Fields and talked about it. So one of the conversations is to have everybody come in here and then have to go around and then come into this entryway, especially being that our home site is on that south side. You got a lot of people walking in and out and across that floor. So what would it be is if we had a different entry here so that we're not necessarily interrupting games for student safety, because we have multiple entries in the other buildings. So is it possible to bring it out and go to the east as opposed to the west and just give us some opportunities for what could be? Because one of the things we still have to look at is how do we get a safe entryway? We have set it up so that there's multiple doors to go through, but it's still not an optimal safe entryway. So in doing that, the conversation was, how do we, knowing what we want to look at for the applied skills, because not to steal any of Mrs. Schnick's thunder.
That wasn't on the list.
Okay. The current layout is looking to be where they will have it in the current cafeteria workroom. And then our what do you call it, de-escalation room or sensory room. The sensory room is going to be what is currently the athletic directors, which means that they will be going through that hallway back and forth, and we've got a principal's office, a conference room. And so in trying to find a better flow on that far west side, there's a desk area that since the time I've been here, nobody's used it. It's used for storage. At one time, I don't know if it was another secretary spot or what it was used for, just over there by the nurses. So we're looking at turning that into more of an office space. So that way the sensory room could be where current Mr. Fields, and this is a couple years down the line, Mr. Fields' current offices, that way it could be easier accessible. And then what he's talking about with the restroom, there is a restroom that's right outside the door and around the corner. One of the questions is it not possible to have a door that directly goes into that restroom from the actual classroom?
I guess the picture has me somewhat confused. Where's the gym?
The gym is this big room right here, this space right here.
You're blocking
Yeah.
it.
Oh, sorry, this space right here.
So that's the external door.
Here, how about this?
Yeah.
Within that,
Right, yeah.
almost like an external wall, I see.
Yeah.
It's confusing.
Dana White, I cannot be. But, so this right here, this spot right here, Bob, is where the current exit is from the home side.
Saying you were blocking, where's the gym currently?
It's right here. This is the gym.
It's just in front of it. It goes out further.
It goes all the way through here.
Show the existing, where the existing offices are and then the.
Here's the office, here's the main entrance. So currently, we don't have this. It's just, this right here is our current
Okay,
entrance.
so that's an add-on.
This is an add-on, yes.
It's an addition.
All right.
Yes, this would be an add-on, which brings it out, which brings it out and puts the entry closer to the end of the sidewalk. So we don't have that walk up. And then what it would do is allow for a entry point to the other part of the gym so that you wouldn't have that grassy area or that concrete coming out that would be enclosed.
So what's the tan portion of that drawing? What is that?
It's office area, that's new as well.
Office where the administration is, where they greet people coming
See,
in.
that's what I couldn't figure out.
It's not there.
It looked to me like it doesn't-
One of the concerns was with the admin is currently they're way at the top right now, so somebody's gotta come and walk all the way through, whereas
Yeah.
in that yellow area, you can walk in and they'll be right, able to take care of somebody right there.
So for our portion of this, it's just, we feel like we're kind of safeguarding and helping you make good decisions, safeguarding your money. So you're not paying for it all up front, design wise, and then that drawing sits for 3 years. It kind of feels better if we do an initial analysis, budgeting, and then you make good decisions to finish it off, because you have kind of a range of a budget of what it might cost. And if you don't, then you're tabling it for next year, then we'll finish off the design next year.
So basically, the safe entry, they would walk in here, walk into the office here, and then enter the building here, like we do in the other buildings where you have to go through the office in order to get into the building. However, during events and different things, like in the morning, these doors would just be opened up.
Broken.
Again, Phantom light.
Yeah.
Are you proposing multiple ideas here, or is this the idea you're?
This was just one idea.
This is just a initial
A
consent.
very high level
I mean,
preliminary.
we can modify it any way you guys want. It's just, this is our first stab at it based on our conversations we had. You can add more, you can make it smaller, yeah.
Something different.
Quick question would be, so then during, because no bathrooms, never mind. I was gonna say, are you trying to place like a concession stand so people stay in the blue area as opposed to going out, but I know the bathrooms will still be on the other side where.
They still have to go through.
I do like the door being in the classroom for the applied skills.
Mhm.
That's it.
That's it. So for us, that's it. Do you, any more Guys have had great questions.
Mhm.
I'll get back to you on one of them. Anything for us?
I have a question. So, if you could explain maybe just your 30,000 foot up.
Yep.
But such as outside buildings. So we have a few concession stands, some things that have bathrooms. I know we probably turn water off to it in the winter because it's not heated. But doing something like putting solar on an outside building, such as a, like the box up on by the baseball fields at both campuses, pertaining to just Washington and Pass right now to try, that's so far away from the main project. Is that something that's not feasible to do? Or is it, should it just be towards that building?
So in general, like take for example, Washington Township High School, the electrical, so this area here is the same area as here. So that right here is your main utility coming in, transformer coming in. So we're trying to get as close as we can to this transformer. We could put some out there, but right now, since you're not using them 24/7, you're not using them every day, you would have to tie it to some source that's out there and it just wouldn't be utilized. So you ended up getting like the 4 cents a kilowatt hour instead of the 26 cents a kilowatt.
Because you're not using.
Because you're not using the power, you're not offsetting it because there's not electrical being used
What
at
if
the time.
it was lighting for the buildings, like all year round? So like outdoor lighting to make sure they're secure, right? So just like night lights, evening lights are on out there,
Mhm.
and then you have the concession stands, things like that would run more often. Right now, we probably don't run them often because, I mean, it's just extra power when it's not utilized. But like if you did put a solar power on every day, you're gonna have a light consistently on from dusk to dawn, dusk to dawn, and have that sort of used all year long. Would that be something?
They do have individual lights that have battery storage with individual solar. The cost might be extensive to go through and do that at those locations. And that's one reason why we look at serving like a whole school, as opposed to like the ag building or other facilities.
But if we're just adding solar, security lighting, we could probably develop something small, not a solar system, but accomplish the goal of
Correct, yeah,
adding
like
self-sufficient security lighting.
yeah, security
That
lighting,
wouldn't
yes.
be a problem.
How does solar work if you would want to light ball fields with it?
Mm.
You would have to have a serious battery, storage
Yeah.
system.
And here's the other thing that like inside the walls internally, when we're always looking at batteries for you guys and like our other clients, but they're a challenge still today, our tech. You know, if you're not 24/7 using redundant need and you're not the federal government, you know, or data centers or large hospital groups, batteries need more time. They're really, really expensive. They don't do the best job in the world for the money that you pay. And for our school clients, we haven't really done them yet. They're just not quite there yet.
We've analyzed them.
Yeah, I
We've
mean,
looked at several.
we always analyze them, but it's always a little bit disappointing because they're just so darn expensive and not that powerful.
And when you're doing solar, you want to maximize as much as you
Right, I
can.
understand.
Yeah.
Although I thought you could put it on top of the pole that you had the light on. To the west of Washington Township's building is what the future plans for that building were always to go either north or west. But to the west is open. From my standpoint, I would like to know what the cost would be to put them west.
A fixed post ground mount system, okay. We can put that together.
I have a question also about, I don't know, we were talking about this, Dr. Casey, doing solar on our waste treatment. I know that would include Morgan separately though, but have we ever had a conversation about doing solar on the waste treatment plants that we have since we were two of them?
We really have not, simply because of the distance to the electrical panels.
Could they run themselves though? Like, can we, so I guess my understanding is you have obviously these larger projects, right? We're looking to be efficient with our buildings.
Yeah.
But when you're looking at like, our waste treatment plant,
Mhm.
can you, with the grant and with the credit, can you do something like, put energy directly into our waste treatment plants, like as a separate project?
Yeah, as long as there's a separate panel that's inside the facility, we could serve an electrical panel with solar on the roof. Now it'll be like this. This is how solar operates. So even this monthly production, this also looks like a day-to-day production. We're going to get sun up and in the morning, you're going to get a lot more production. As the day progresses and as the day fades, you're going to get less production. So that's what an offset setting of power is gonna look like on your monthly billing. So this can work serving panels, we serve electrical transformers that serve facilities. But yeah, we could absolutely serve let's say there's 100 amp service there. We could definitely feed something like that for sure.
What happens to the energy not used? So, and obviously summertime, we're not as busy. We're not a lot of people here. So how does that work with the extra, it's the busiest, sunniest time of the year? What happens to electricity?
So that's why we have to size it accordingly. If we size it to where like you're absolutely not using that energy during the peak time periods, then you're only going to get, NIPSCO's only going to pay you 4 cents per kilowatt hour, a measure of energy back, instead of offsetting what you're paying now is about 26 cents a kilowatt hour. So it's a big difference there. That's why when we analyze these buildings, we look at sizing them perfectly now. We really have to analyze them and size them accordingly. You can't just throw a bunch of solar on there and then bank it and use it.
Yeah,
There's
like
no
we used to.
banking. Yeah.
We do have a plan for that though too. So one of the challenges that we have seen, especially the last couple of years in the summer, is kind of a little bit hotter and the humidity's been a little bit higher. If we have solar, we can justify running the air conditioning to try to pull some of that humidity out and keep those buildings more at a constant temp, as opposed to the huge discrepancy that we currently have now between when we have kids in the building and not.
And if you do that in conjunction with replacing your deferred maintenance chillers as well with high efficient chillers, you could save additional money as well.
Would your plan be able to tell us, this is going to be shooting for the stars, they're both going to be, very expensive and there's going to be costs involved, but like doing geothermal and solar on like a smaller scale. So again, let's say we do a couple walkways or do something as opposed to more rooftop and then do geothermal. Is there any plans for, when we look at it, can we do both?
Yeah, I'm looking at, we're looking at,
That's what we look at.
Yeah.
Is when if you approve the PDA and everything that we have for geothermal and the solar, we are looking at both. And we're trying to, you see, it's unfortunately true. Your solar system is completely tied to the math of what NIPSCO is going to pay us, period. And we have to be kind of spot on. So we're not, no good money after bad. We're wasting no dollars here, but we are trying to maximize the IRA. So, which is the only reason we probably brought geothermal up in the first place. So getting them both is definitely is on our list. Making sure it works first and foremost, and then getting as much money as humanly possible from that office is our next goal.
I appreciate it. This helps the public understand.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
It's rhetorical, but just so it's.
and depending on the scope, let's say there's 4 or 5 different scopes chosen for a certain building. We analyze it as, okay, you're going to get this much savings we're going to combine the savings for all those and say, that's how much you're going to save. So.
And if it doesn't go somewhere, you'll have the information because someone asks you, well, why didn't we put it here? Well, we'll tell you why, because if it would have been a big win, we would have put it there. So we'll have you all the information that is easy enough to pass on to someone who will inevitably ask really good questions. And you'll have the answer. Why not here? Why not this? We will help you with all of that.
It all has to be done by 2027.
Well, the solar piece, not the geothermal piece. But we'll be working on it hard. If we're still working on geothermal by then, that means it knocked it dead for you. We just, again, we want to be good keepers for you guys. So if it doesn't work, we're going to know that fast too and not spend money on it.
I'd like to ask the board to look at page 4 at the very bottom. On page 4, where it talks about the scopes requested. Is there anything on this list that there's no reason for ESG to spend their time on?
I think all that have a good return on investment.
The whole envelope, I might have missed the explanation on that.
So the bill,
Oh, that's right. Never mind.
okay.
Caulk joints and filling holes and things of that nature, yeah.
So the lighting occupancy sensors, I know most buildings have them. You mentioned Washington Township High School might not have.
Correct.
Some in some areas. Okay. And then the other ones have battery operated currently.
Correct.
And this would be a quote that would look into getting rid of the battery.
Hardwired,
Yeah.
So you don't have to send
Correct.
somebody on a line every 5 months or whatever.
which would make sense if solar ended up being something that was beneficial, that could be based off of
Yeah.
getting rid of batteries. It's not a huge-
Yeah, it's just something to decrease, having
Decrease maintenance and
staff.
operation use, and, batteries are a pain, so.
Yeah, you don't want your
Safety,
staff
somebody
having to
going
do
up
that.
and down
It's
the
good
ladder
all
all
the
the
way
time.
around.
Okay, good.
Just want to make sure that we're headed in the right direction.
Is there anything you'd like to add to this? Controls?
A 50% NIPSCO reduction.
There you go.
You go. The legislature to change Senate Bill 1. All right.
Yeah, I thought controls were in there.
It is.
Where they at? They weren't on that list.
Yeah, we can add it back in. Well, we had controls for like the miscellaneous, the chillers and anything else related to that, but yeah, we can add that back in.
Sure.
There won't be any addition at all. We'll keep it the same.
Washington Township.
We've got some of that information.
We already, he was working on it, yeah.
I know we talked about it, like at length.
Yeah, he was working on it, so.
Yeah, we'll be good, yeah. And I'll just say for the last thing for us, if you do approve signing this PDA, again, we'll be diligent with the time and effort that we spend, which equals design and engineering dollars. We will work very, very hard for you. I think three of us will always be speaking to you. I can promise you one thing, you've checked our references already. We are men that we do what we say we're gonna do. Our communication's good. Construction is not perfect, so if it's ever not perfect, we're gonna fix it till you're happy, not until we're done spending money. That's how we keep you in good graces for years and get to do jobs for you 5 years from now instead of just this one project. So we will work very, very hard at earning your trust and keeping it. And we have the team in place ready to start working on this, even literally by the end of this week, in terms of development. So if you approve the signing of this, we are ready to move forward.
What would be the most local school corporation to us, nearby to us that you've worked?
That we worked with personally, ours, this is a new region for us. Ours are more south. So we came up here, basically because of a couple consultants I'm a friend with. Dr. Jeff Brooks is a good friend of mine, and he made some calls on my behalf, because he knows the work that we've done. As a matter of fact, the projects that they have just done solar-wise, some of them were based on our Bloomington project, and he didn't even know it at the time. So I was introduced to him, and he loved that because he used some of those ideas. Then we became friends, and I've taken him through our operations. So he's a good reference locally, although I've not built anything for Dr. Brooks. He understands our process and is a good reference up here.
Chicago.
East Chicago just selected us as well. We're just kicking them off as of last week, but they're also a good reference in terms of somebody who's researched us pretty deeply. And again, this team here, Mario is our most tenured engineer. So when I say this team, I say let's 10 years. Then Mario's got another 15 with ESG on top of that. But Greg and I have specifically developed over 85 million in just K through 12 work ourselves personally with school board and superintendents. So we can get you, if you didn't check the references that we submitted, we can get you more, but we're definitely excited to be up here, and we're excited to get going on this and prove this out for all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Safe travels.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hopefully we don't get caught in that rain.
Oh, you won't know.
I worry about nothing, I worry about it.
Go back.
So next on the agenda,
Today is,
The,
I'll let you know.
applied skills update. And so,
At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Schmidt.
So just a quick update before you even know kind of where we are with the process. When I initially proposed, I proposed an action plan for our transition. Our goal was May 1st, knowing that it's a lofty goal and some of the things on here really weren't going to be May 1st ready because, we have spaces and things that we need to do. Phases 1 through 3 and this isn't in there, I'm just reading for you, but planning, budget, legal, kind of looking through those initial pieces to kick it off. We're all taken care of. curriculum and classroom design is almost all complete. We're still finalizing classroom layouts. There's a teacher that has not, she's coming over to us, but she's not here to do all that work right away. She's very responsive though. And we're finishing these supply purchases that we need to do. We finished our personnel and staffing. The only thing we have on there right now that's in progress is our posting for our aides. So that has gone up. So we're kind of in phase 4 of procurement of materials and the items for the classrooms and physical setup, and then training, student transition, and readiness. Kind of some specifics our families have been communicated with. We do have 4 families at the middle high level who have chosen to stay at Boone Grove. We knew that was a possibility with kids that have gone through the program and just want them to finish in the same place. So we did have 4 families that have chosen that, but we are preparing to welcome 8 middle high school students and 6 elementary students into our programs. Our plans are being made right now for the middle high to be visiting at Washington Township on May 12th. So they'll come in, we'll be busing them over, come in for a tour, have lunch with their future peers before they head back to their schools that they attend currently. The elementary, we're kind of in flux right now. I think the kids at Cook's Corners may come over as well. Our kids at Porter Lakes, though, are going to come for a visit in late July, early August, just because of their needs. It's a little confusing to come now, and it's so far away maybe from the day that they're going to start. So they're going to come in with their parents a little closer. Classroom will be physically more set up and be a space that they can see. In the meantime, those kiddos are going to receive social stories. So they'll see pictures of their teachers, of the school, of things that will be, hopefully they'll get more familiar with so that it prepares them for that. The principals and teachers have visited, and I've been on a few of those, the schools into the classrooms where they currently are, have opportunities to observe, to interact. They've also been participating in case conferences. So as transition has been talked about with families, they are there and part of that conversation as well. And then we're making purchases. We've currently made an agreement on the curriculum called Unique is the program. We sat through meetings with the demo, with the teachers and the principal, and they're super excited. I've worked with this program in a different district. I personally haven't used it, but I've worked getting it set up for the teachers. And it's a very comprehensive program that both the elementary and the high school will have access to. If you want to know more about it, I'd love to tell you. But teachers and principals also have been part of just creating the lists of purchases that we need to make. The other 2 things we've purchased are electric lift changing tables. So those will be available in each of the buildings. And then through technology, we've purchased touch screens, tablets. So the students will have touchscreen tablets and then carts in the classroom for charging of those as well. So as we go, we'll continue to outfit. Those classrooms will have the boards similar to this one, those panels in their classrooms, and we'll continue to outfit the rooms and get things set up and ready. But we are well on our way to a successful transition. Any questions?
Have you explored any other programs besides Unique?
We did look at a few different things. I couldn't tell you the names, but like our teacher that's coming from Chesterton and kind of what they're piecing together. The feedback from the teachers is that nothing is as comprehensive. Unique has communication boards already created for the lessons that the tablet can turn right into a communication board about the story or the thing. So it had a very large comprehensive package for them.
Okay, we just recently, the school that I work for just recently started using Unique. So I just wanted to know if there was any feedback that they've used it before. We've had some glitches with it a little bit. Like we like the program, it's got a lot to offer.
Yeah.
But just like some of the things just don't always function like we like it, or they can be kind of slow sometimes. So we just started using it within the last 6 months.
Okay.
So we're still getting used to it, but I just wanted to know if the teachers had any input on that, if they've used the program before.
They had not. I have seen it used when I was at Kankakee Valley. The Applied Skills program used it extensively, especially at the middle school level there. And it didn't seem to have issues, but I don't know if that was also something our tech department could work hand in hand with them to make sure. I know the company seems to be very responsive. As soon as I've asked anything, I've gotten a quick response. But I think for them, it really had to do with the comprehensiveness of what it offered and kind of all the different angles of They didn't have to go seek out extra materials and you could level the lesson at 3 different levels based on where your students were. So you could still use the same content, but it would appropriately level it for the kiddos rather than everybody just having to do the same thing. And that was also really exciting to them.
Right, yeah, no, it's a great
Yeah.
program. I just
Yeah.
heard.
It's good to know though. We'll have to keep an eye on kind of how it works as far as implementation. Yeah.
Good questions.
Next up, there's quite a lot of policies here.
There are, but they're not gonna be near as long as what the list is.
Okay,
So I mean, because part of it has to do with, we have not had our meeting yet with Julie Slavens from ISBA. So tonight, basically, I'm looking a little bit more for direction, not so much to discuss specific policies. So currently, we do not have a cellular policy. We have it addressed in our handbooks. And in our handbooks, we say that they will be powered off and in the lockers. As you can see, ISBA is giving you 2 options. One of them is where they're not even allowed to be on campus. And the other one is powered off, and then you have to create how you're going to do that. I guess the question that I want, because I've brought this before, because they've sent this out, and at the time we figured that it was good enough to be in the handbook. But now that it's been changed, I just want to make sure to see, do you want me to continue forward and have the policy, or is the handbook enough? And being that our legal counsel is right here, I figured it'd be a good time to say, is it time to put it in policy as opposed to just handbook?
Changes to the law actually this year require your policies to address the cell phone use. So you're gonna have to pull it out of your handbook and put it in your board policy, whatever that ends up being.
So what I will do then is just make it match what we approved in the handbook. So powered off, stored in lockers, and accessible during the day.
And actually still in the handbook says they are not to be on campus or whatever the original language is, it's still there. So,
Well, they can have them, they just have to be, they're not permitted throughout the day.
I don't know that that's what that language says in there.
We'll double check and we'll
Yeah.
make sure.
and that's a state requirement.
Yeah, they changed the statute this year and it says that you have to publish a policy. So could you argue that your handbook is publishing a policy? Maybe, but.
Especially since the board approved it.
Yeah, you
We
could,
better have enough policy.
but most boards are just putting them in board policy.
Why not?
So that one, see, that was easy. Okay. The other one is student records. There's been some changes in what the qualifies for student records and how that is put in. So I actually have, and I apologize, I don't have it. Julie was looking at what the recommendations are. And she was trying to get in there again today, as were all of us. And so she hasn't had a chance to get in, make the changes and get through. So we're going to punt that one down the road until we can have it. Okay. Next one. I'm glad you like paper, Mr. Martin, because
It just makes your organizational skills so much better.
yeah.
Not as easy as opening it up and then.
So also there's been a change to, and this one I already have in your packet, the changes to the public records. There's been some changes in legislation that has changed the way that it's set so that the board actually has the opportunity to create, or the school has an opportunity to create a program that will see that if it's even a real request or if it's AI or computer generated. And then also it allows us to increase fees, especially if they're out of state fees. And I will tell you, we have, and I've talked with a number of superintendents and we are seeing an uptick in FOIA requests. And they're wanting to, and a lot of them are wanting to get the information to some of the vendors.
Yeah, about 80% of the ones that come across my desk are that.
Good Lord.
And we're seeing more and more of those come across the desks. And Jackie's been helping me with some of the ones that we have received lately.
I would say that because out-of-state entities, are we getting a lot of out-of-state? Is
Yes.
that what you're, so not only is it requested based on,
Correct. I've got Texas, Massachusetts, are the two that I remember.
And a lot of them are purchasing vendor
Yes.
information, like all it's, right? That's not really what the purpose of that is for. It's not for commercial purposes,
Yeah.
so. They're trying to crack down on that with ChatGPT.
So any questions about this? This is pretty straightforward and it talks just about what the law, the changes to the law has, and this is what Julie is recommending.
I did have a question that wasn't pertaining to what we already discussed, but, the bottom part where it states the records access officer may deny a request for a record if the requesting person is a party to litigation and the record has been requested through discovery in a litigation proceedings. My question for that is that appears to me like it's ranking requests by who is requesting it. So can you just explain to me a little bit about that? Because I didn't think that agencies were supposed to evaluate the merit of the reason. Like if you were going to give it to one person and not another. So
Actually,
navigate that part of it.
sure. And that's one of those, this is what we're getting recommended from Julie. But because if you look at even the first green letter, it says priority will be given to requests from Indiana residents before journalist, academic, or personal use. So therefore, right there, it sets that precedence of prioritizing the requests. But I don't know the legal reason why, Mrs. Bowersock.
If I could address that, Ms. Bowersock. So APRA is the state law, right? So that's the Access to Public Records Act. FOIA is the federal law. A lot of times in litigation, what people end up doing is they end up FOIAing something that maybe they're not entitled to in discovery, or they're fighting about it in discovery. And so there's actually there's a lot of federal case law on that saying that it's inappropriate. So I think Indiana's trying to kind of go that route as well, saying basically if you can request in your litigation, you shouldn't be peppering it through an APRA request. So that's, without talking to Julie, my guess is that's why it's in the policy.
So my question for that is though, are we saying that none of those records are available or just only if it's requested by a certain person who's going through active litigation? Because that would be my concern. Like if it's not available to anybody, that's one thing, but if it's only, if the requester is going through active litigation, but then somebody else requests it, how is that handled?
Sure. So most of the case law says that when the requester is using it to circumvent the discovery process, i.e., the court said, you know what, there's a protective order, so you can't get X, Y, and Z. And then the requester goes through APRA or FOIA. That's inappropriate. And I think that's what this is meaning to address. I don't know if that addresses your question.
Well, it's still like, let's take out the part about who's requesting it. Let's say the person is going through active litigation does not want, or, knows that they can't request that. Does that mean that that person's going to say, have another person request it and then they would get access? Because that seems a little odd.
Yeah, no, I mean, as the responder, my response to that would be, you can't circumvent this policy just by using a third party. Right.
But I'm just saying, how would you know that it was a third party and how would that be appropriate to be able to disclose it to a third party? Like, I guess
and I guess that we're talking in so abstract, I'm having a hard time thinking of a situation where that would actually apply.
Well, I can think of a few. I just don't want to state those right now just because, for personal reasons, but it just seems a little odd that we would be, again, like ciphering, because APRA doesn't require, I don't know, I just always thought about APRA being, or even FOIA requests being, I didn't know that there was any type of law which stated that we would be changing our policies based on who requested it. Because, we can it seems like it would kind of muddy the waters in that respect, that one person can request the information, but another one can't. And how would we police that, I guess? Like if any third party can have it, but just one person can't have it. It just seems like, it would be difficult to enforce that policy or to even, I guess, police that type of a policy. we're choosing who gets what information.
This is our current policy.
It is, the green is what, we are being recommended to add.
So what is the current policy is just the top 3 paragraphs?
And the second page, and the back page,
And the yellow we're adding, right?
and the yellow we're adding as well.
I just, from what I read, agencies are not supposed to be evaluating the merit of the reason when it comes to, I mean, if it's a public record, it's a public record. I could understand the AI part, which I do still have some questions about that, but if we're getting a bunch of AI requests from out of state and things like that, like, but when we're looking at policing or evaluating the merit or reason or who, I just, in my opinion, from what I've read, an APRA request is an APRA request. It's either a public record or it's not. It doesn't matter who's requesting it.
This came up in one of our recent meetings through ASBO, and they had some people in there that suggested that you have a form, and so when you get the request, you say, you just reply and say you have to fill this form to get rid of some of that AI stuff, like if you want this request, fill this form out.
Well, I guess here's my concern. If you, and this is a new law, right? So the new law says that if we had, for example, I'm not an IT person, I don't pretend to be. But you know how, like, when you're logging into something, it makes you show that you're not a robot. So you have to, like, check all the motorcycles or whatever. That we could have a program like that would screen out our APRA requests, and that's part of the statute. But because the statute's new, I guess my concern with a form would be, are we foreclosing the door that's opened by APRA? Because are we gonna make everybody fill out the form? Is it just people we expect for AI?
But then it says here, on regular business days or in writing on forms provided by the corporations, that's why, like, we just require them to use a form versus sending an email message. Is that how I would, and if we took that out, it would just require them to do the form.
See, the law doesn't require the form though, and so my concern would be if there was a complaint with the public access counselor, I could see someone saying, well, there's nothing in APRA that requires me to fill out this particular form. Sure, it's a suggested one, but if I don't do it, that doesn't mean you can deny my request. That was my pause.
I had another question too, where it states, the record access officer shall report to the public access counselor the content of the request and the reasons for declining the request within 7 days of receiving the request. From what I've read, APRA does not require agencies to self-report denials. It's not standard. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
That's the new law. The new law provides, so if, for example, we were going to deny a request because we believe it's AI or it's inappropriate, then we have to self-report that to the public access counselor. And at least it's my understanding that the purpose of that is that a lot of these kind of AI/commercial requests are being seen statewide. So they can see the patterns and what they're getting.
And I have no issue with these changes, so.
And I can talk to Julie to find out exactly what she's looking at, because even if you look at their sample policy that she's supplied in that distribution, it's the same.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest concern, I guess, would be that last line about how we would be essentially deciphering whether or not something's a public record based on who is requesting it.
Thank you. I know.
Have a little trouble with your paper, right?
Yeah, we are. Bring back more dogs.
The other one, police relations. So this was also brought before the board before, and it was decided not to move it forward. However, it has come out again, especially with this last legislation session, and telling schools that they are not allowed to prohibit law enforcement, and I just want to know the direction, again, not asking you to pick one of these samples to go through, because not only does she have police relations, but she's also recommending something about interviews from people that are not school personnel. I did put in there, we currently have a policy that allows the interviews. It just states that an administrator needs to be present. My fear is, I don't know if that's enough to take care of what the requirements currently have been changed to.
Be given a list of what actually changed about the laws?
If you look at this, this is actually a pretty good summary. The red. It's the easiest way to find it, and then I'm gonna paper in front of me.
It's right behind the APRA request.
Yeah. That kind of like delineates the reasons for these changes in policies. And again, I'm not the one that pushes these out, but this is what the ISBA does.
These are, I know we get policies that are recommended and then policies that are, recommended and then there's one that we have- required, yes.
And then there's three. There's required, gosh, what is the other one? Essential, and then discretionary.
Okay, so where do we fall with this one? Is this required, discretionary, essential?
The police relations.
Yeah. Yes.
It will be on the red, and I'm looking essential.
It is an essential one. Which parts of it, can you direct me on that? Just because I know we didn't have time to look at these ahead of time.
What parts of them are essential?
Yes.
The policy. I don't know what parts of the individual policy are essential. But according to the red again, it says right here, policy 42 or 4420, police relations, the ISBA considers that essential.
But we don't know which
Well,
parts.
it talks on the front page about why.
Sorry, and again, I know the board docs is down, so we didn't get to the chance to
Right,
read it.
Natalie's question is, which, you gave three examples, or the examples are from Julie.
Yes, all of the examples are from Julie. Everything in this is from Julie.
You know me, less is more.
Yep.
Number two would be my choice if it meets the standards of the law.
Leave it with the administration.
No.
Wait, I don't know where we are.
Police relations, ISBA code 4420.
There's a red that says essential and then the policy is here. Example 1, 2, and 3.
I know. I cannot do this paper thing. I can't. We're gonna have to come back to this. I cannot do this. That's fine. I'm about to throw my paper pile.
I'm with you.
And I'm just fine with it.
Bob is thriving down there.
Yeah, I don't even know if I have.
We now spell hero, B-O-B.
Okay, I've got it. This is the interrogation.
I will say I prefer example one. I'd like cohesiveness across all of the schools.
What'd you say?
I like example one. I don't love how wordy it is, but I do like example one that will honor it, permit, like we set the standards at the district level. So it's the same across all three schools.
Yeah, I have no problem with it. I just said
Let me just
less
look at
is
yours.
more.
Yeah, don't get that.
Are we suggesting now this would be a first reading?
No,
It's not even a first.
No,
reading.
I mean, by
No, but this is a work session.
This is a work, I'm looking for direction so that I can bring you something
At the
more.
next,
propose it.
at the board.
When it's online, please.
Correct.
Okay, because the only thing I wanted to make sure is that we're saying the warrant part of it is the correct type of warrant. Judicial warrant. Remember we talked about that before. And I can't read it like this with all this paper, so I don't even know, I don't know where mine.
Now you know how I feel with the device.
am more in favor of example one, but I would like the wording to be more, a little bit more specific, because it states that, efforts to notify the parents of the interview of the request must be made. So I would like some more, like, how many efforts, like how, if they're just contacting them and then the parent doesn't answer, are we gonna be, like, what does that effort look like? Because, I know that this was a very, heated conversation the first time this policy came out, and there was a lot of opinions about, parents want to definitely be notified if their children are going to be interviewed by law enforcement, because they would like to be present. And then it says, if the parent or designated representative of the child cannot be located or is not present, or unless otherwise ordered by the court, a member of the school staff shall be present whenever a student is interviewed in the school. I would just like more language surrounding the efforts made to parents so that we can ensure that that part is.
So I'll be with that part, because I'm thinking about law enforcement coming in with a warrant and an order. I will tell you, we are not going to be able to slow them down all that much. So if we have tried calling the mom, the dad, or the guardian, a couple different guardians, I don't know as if we'd be able to make multiple attempts.
Those might be in a separate category. I'm speaking about just, let's say, students being interviewed by police about something that happened on school grounds. I think that when there's already a court order or a warrant, then that kind of goes out the window. But when it comes to a child being interviewed about a potential crime or things like that, I believe that we should make reasonable efforts to contact those parents or guardians, and that should be.
Sorry,
more
so
spelled out.
you're on 4425 then?
I'm on 4420 police relations.
There's another one, 4425, investigation or interrogation by Leo's.
And we have to adopt both of these?
Well, I guess I'm looking at,
I think your concern is valid that way. I think it is 4425, but 4420 is pretty basic. 4425 is more inclusive to what you're asking.
Okay.
yeah, because I'm sorry, I'm just not seeing where you're talking about interviewing and investigating.
Sure.
That
It's,
4420 is not there. Or am I missing
4420, it's 1, 2, 3rd, 4th paragraph down. It says, except in cases of suspected child abuse or neglect, efforts to notify the parents of the interview request must be made if the parent or designated representative of the child cannot be located or is not present, or unless otherwise ordered by the court. So it even states in there, unless otherwise ordered by the court.
Sure.
A member of the school staff shall be present whenever a student is interviewed in the school. The school representative may include the social worker, school administrator, or school counselor. I just want to make sure that there's language in there that states the efforts that they would be making to the parents.
Gotcha. I wasn't even looking at that in like investigations or that. I was looking at when they come in with a court order or that. Because I was thinking about interviews and investigations being a totally different one.
Yeah, but since this policy touches on it as well,
Okay.
I just would like those to be, and we do have to have 2 separate ones, because a lot of these kind of overlap with each other and some seem a little bit.
But we have the opportunity, we have the ability to merge them.
Okay,
That's
that might be less confusing. That way.
correct, because then we can put the 2 so that they have that.
And you can make sure they're consistent too.
What's that?
If they're merged.
Yeah, that way you can make sure they're consistent too.
Yeah. I like the idea. Less is more.
Can I
Yes,
offer advice?
Mr. Police Officer.
I would recommend keeping them separate, and here's why. I see it as two separate entities. Police relations would be detectives coming to the school to specifically try to interview a child about a crime. To where an investigation going on within the school would be the SRO getting information that something's happened within the school. So I would recommend them staying separate. Just my opinion. But by all means, you guys do as you guys feel, if you think combining them would be better. But the way I see police relations would be the detective group coming specifically to the school to interview a child, maybe, out about maybe an arson. Maybe they got a tip that this child has burned a field or something, and they're looking to try to gain more information. I consider that police relations, that they came to the school specifically for that. Investigation, I consider that the SRO is there, something has happened, and we're gonna proceed forward with some kind of potential crime that's occurred within the school.
Okay, but either one, we would want to have the efforts made to the parent.
And so Indiana law says, if you're a victim, I don't necessarily need your parent there, but I feel the parent needs to be notified by all means. If I'm gonna interview your child that I strongly suspect that they have committed a crime, I have to have the parent present or a guardian, and I have to Mirandize both of them. And then I have to leave the room and give them ample time to discuss. This is the parent's opportunity to ask the child, did you do this or not? Should we contact the lawyer? It gives them plenty of time. And it should be in a room that's not recorded, not, no interference. And then when they're done, they can knock on the door and say, okay, we're ready to come back in. And that's when they tell you their decision.
Okay. What happens if it seems like the student is a victim and then next thing you start questioning them and then you realize they were part of it and then now they're investigating?
So then you kind of put a stop
Okay.
at that point and say, well, at this point in time, the directions have shifted. We're going to need to have a parent here and we're going to have to go a different direction at this point.
Okay. My fear would be that, parents should have, and I hear what you're saying for sure. And I know that these situations probably don't always happen that way where they kind of lead down a different path, but
Correct.
I would like to have that protective language in there just in case.
And by all means, I agree that that's not a problem, but like I was saying, if I'm going to interview your child at the school about a crime and they are my suspect, then I have to have a parent present. I have to Mirandize them with the parent present.
Right, okay.
Julie has them as separate and essential, both of them. So we probably better keep them as separate, as much as I like Wes. Well, and take into account what this is about, if we can add that to them both so they're consistent.
I guess the only comment I would make is that these policies don't distinguish between your SROs and outside law enforcement. They don't. So if we want to do two separate policies in order to make that distinction, that's fine. We're just going to have to advise Julie to help us tweak it.
What if they're talking about local law enforcement versus federal?
I don't think under the new Indiana law, you can distinguish between that. The new Indiana law basically says that you can't circumvent any law enforcement that's coming into your school to lawfully investigate anything. I think keeping though, the fact that it has to be a court order helps with that process if you want to keep that in. So that way you're not talking about administrative orders, which aren't actually enforced.
Yeah. And that is what I want. I wanted to say that.
I agree.
Which part? I'm sorry.
The fact that the policies reference court orders or judicial orders as opposed to just orders generally or warrants generally.
Okay.
So I have a meeting with Julie on Wednesday. I will talk to her about potentially merging to see if that's even a possibility. And then I will, after I have that, put some language, I'll run it through Jackie to ensure that before we bring it to you, we've got something that hits the different accommodations and notification for parents and the judicial court orders.
Okay. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything here, but I thought we were
not going to.
We were not going to.
We weren't gonna
want to
merge
merge them.
According to Officer Knapp, he thought that they should be separate.
So
Two
do
separate.
you have an example that the board prefers in regards to interrogations?
So I like example one. I don't necessarily like the second paragraph where it sounds like the parents or the student's guardian would be notified after the fact if they were interviewed. Is it possible to put something in to say efforts will be made to contact the guardian prior to interview? Is that possible timing wise? Sorry. So investigations, interrogations by law enforcement officers, ISBA code 4425, example one, second paragraph. If it's merely in the nature of seeking routine information, blah, 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 blah. The school shall inform the parent, student's legal guardian that they were interviewed by the police. So to me, because it's in past tense, it seems they would be notified after.
So if we take.
I would like an effort to at least be made to notify them prior,
Well,
even if they're a victim, and we don't have to give them notice, yes. I mean, that's what we just talked about, right? Like,
But it still is a possibility, and I feel that as a parent, you know, and as a teacher, you know, sometimes it just seems like they're a victim, and then next thing you know, they're talking themselves into something that they didn't do because they, you know, didn't understand. And also, you know, sometimes we have special education students who might just like say things that didn't happen, or they get nervous, you know, so I just, one minute they're a victim, and then the next minute we're looking at it differently, and I understand that we trust Mr. Knapp and all those things, but the fact is that this would be opening up any police to be able to do that, and we don't, it's just, I feel like they should be victim or not, I feel like they
Hopefully
should.
they're a victim, we've already contacted them to say this happened.
and that's kind of why I'm gonna wrap back around my initial point, which was, I understand your point about the two separate policies, but these policies don't distinguish between an outside law enforcement officer and you dealing with students on a day-to-day basis. I mean, whether or not you're in the building every day or you're an outside law enforcement officer, you're still subject to the same rules. But this is, the policy can read however you guys would like, but my concern would be the more we get in the weeds about this, let's say we have a situation where Jackie reports that, Aaron has a knife in his book bag. We have to contact every parent of every kid that we need to talk to right then to make sure that Aaron doesn't have a knife in it. Do you see what I'm saying? There are urgent situations where the kids aren't expected to be a criminal or maybe even a victim, but they just might be a witness, and it's something that they need to deal with right now.
Yeah.
And so I'm just putting those kind of situations out there, because if you've got an urgent situation and your board policy is this specific, it's gonna kind of tie your hands. I'm not trying to speak on your behalf. I might be misspeaking, but that's been my experience, right? Is that when you have a situation like that.
Before we routinely had us, or I was in the building, the administration would be the one to ask those, so assistant principal, principals, those types, you know, as opposed to a police officer that could, you know, so it's different. It's, you know, I just,
So is your hope to get back to like building admin, doing the investigation and interrogation?
no, but I think that like in a situation like where there's a knife and students need to be questioned about it before we need to, I feel like it would be appropriate for the assistant principal to, you know, take on part of that as opposed to going around and, you know, like, I guess, I don't want to say circumventing a policy because it's not there yet, but just circumventing that part about informing the parent, because we do have parent, you know, they've got emergency contacts. We have them all on Skyward where we can, you know, get in touch with parents to ask them or at least inform them. Allow them to maybe be even on speakerphone or Google Meet during that interview. I feel like we have the technology to be able to do that. I just know that, yeah, again, this was a very heated topic the first time it came around. I understand it's an essential, and it's categorized now as an essential policy that we need to discuss, but I just feel like from what we heard from the community, if law enforcement is going to be interviewing their child, they would like to be notified ahead of time, whether it's a victim or not.
I mean, I wasn't involved in the heated conversations before, but maybe when you talk to Julie, then you and I can talk and figure out if there's a way that we can kind of, because it's a balancing act, right? You also don't want to tie people's hands when your students are in danger.
Right.
And my concern would be if you're going to notify them for everything, there are certain situations where that just can't happen. So I'm sure that we can talk to Julie and
I think part of the challenge is going to be too, is what's the expectation? Because just because you notify a parent doesn't necessarily mean that they have the right to sit in it. Because it talks about
They're still
notifying.
minors.
They are not required. And that's one of those things that, so if you're looking at, and that's the intent of the policy, you're probably going to need to be very specific, because if the expectation is that the parent has to be there or given the opportunity to be there, it's different than the way that things have been done in the past. And it also does kind of handcuff and tie our ability to investigate serious matters.
I just, from what I looked at in the short time I was able to read it, because again, I know that Board Docs was down before the meeting, but I don't see anything in here that states that there's a law preventing them. Now, it's different when it's Child Protective Services coming in because sometimes the parents are the perpetrator. And so that's, I understand that that is different, but I've never read anything that states that law enforcement has the right to interview a child without their parent present. I've never read anything like that, even on this one that has the explanation of why it needs to be changed to red.
So I would say, if you had stated to go with Julie Slavens and work with our attorney and come back with
If we can come up with something.
appropriate.
I think I understand what you're trying to get.
Yeah, and it's,
But I
again, I
just-
know that we haven't been able to review this for too long before the meeting, but I haven't read anything and I don't see anything on here that states that the police can interview without parental consent or that the parent can't be there, because they are minor children.
Never said they couldn't. I just said there's nothing that says they have to.
They're not required to be unless
There's a
child.
difference between that. Didn't say they couldn't be.
They're not required to be.
They're not required to be.
I think we need to err on the side of caution with that, just.
Again, see that
Yeah, we'll work on that. I just wanted to make sure that we cleared that up because they didn't say that they couldn't. I just said it's not required.
okay. But what are we taking on next here?
Oh, hold on, I gotta try to find my agenda now because I've been flipping back and forth. I think. Oh, and the last one is distribution of literature and advertisements.
Okay, that's fine then.
And that one is simply, basically, we already have a practice that we have. Currently, if anybody submits anything to go out in newsletters or be posted, it comes to the district office and we approve it if we feel that it's beneficial. And then we add the disclaimer. Our policy, though, does allow principals to have that authority. And so I just wanted to talk to the board. Do you want it to come through the central office to ensure that it does meet all of that? Or is it good just to leave it at the building level and ensure that they have the disclaimer? The only concern about leaving it at the building level is continuity and consistency. And sometimes there are flyers or different things that go out as an entire district and not just building level.
I would rather it be through central office. That way, all three schools are doing it the same way. But I would also like it to be the wording, I think it was an example too. Because I say the first part that you showed us, that is required. That first 2 paragraphs is what you're saying. And then we would, I see superintendent in parentheses, but we would just have it be superintendent there, right? And then if you go down the example 1 versus example 2, the thing I noted was in example 2, I would like it to be, not political or religious nature. Let me read this in. And then the students are not used as agents for distributing materials. But then that says without the approval, but I would like the superintendent not to approve those.
And we don't have kids that take stuff home. If we do anything currently, it's either posted on our Facebook pages or in our newsletters with a disclaimer. Periodically, we'll have something posted inside of the building. And one of the things that we also look at is we don't permit anything that's competing with what we have going on here at the school, because we've got different schools that want us to promote their cheerleading camps, and we don't do anything that's competing with our school district.
And this is an essential policy.
No, it is not.
Where does it fall on that list?
I'm looking. It is an essential code
It is essential.
according to it here.
That's 4110. Yep, that's it. It says essential.
We already have this policy currently. It just might be a tweak here and there.
Can we look at that before we start taking from examples? Because I feel like we have any issues with our current policy.
I'll be honest, our current policy is not our current practice. Because currently it allows principals to make that decision.
Okay.
That would be the only part that I had as a recommendation and change would be change it from the principals to superintendent, because that's what our current practice is. And I believe that, trying to think, I thought I put it in our actual, in here.
I think that makes sense, just for cohesiveness across the district, right? Are there any objections to it? That instead of the principal approving for each individual building, that the superintendent.
I'd like to know what the ramifications are before we change it. I'd like to know from principals.
They currently send them to me.
They send them to you anyway.
That's the way Rod had it set. That's the way Rod had it set up. And that was one of those, I didn't even realize there was a difference in it until
Okay.
I was looking it over. Because as a
Yes,
matter
we
of
just
fact, I
match
think
what
the
we're
current
doing.
policy has it currently principal, and then it has the superintendent in the brackets.
But can we just look at that policy and
Of
perhaps
course,
tweak
it's in-
whatever we need to do,
yeah, it's
as
in our
opposed to
ordinance.
adopting an entire new one?
Well, I have another question too. So then, if we do change it to superintendent, and then we know what you do, but then we get a different superintendent, like, then how do we know what that person's gonna approve or not allow through? So is there, something,
Guidelines?
right, like a guideline, I guess, for you? Or for the superintendent?
I took it as like couldn't compete, non-compete, it had to come from, is that kind of what the guidelines are? Like,
Yeah.
you can't compete with the schools, so you can't have a cheer camp because we have cheer camps.
But is that written for you somewhere? Like, how will the new superintendent know that?
I don't have access to board docs to answer that question.
Normally, it's either addressed in your board docs or it's addressed in your administrative
Okay.
guidelines. Sometimes it's in student handbooks.
I didn't see anything.
It's not in our handbook.
Okay,
So I have an example.
so normally it's board policy or admin guidelines.
Let's say, trying to think of an example. There was like a travel, girls basketball team that the coach had like given the parents a flyer and was just like, hey, we're just letting you know about that information in case any of your girls are interested. Would that fall under this policy?
I have never seen those.
Well,
So, no,
I'm bringing up the example
Yeah.
just because it was given to, like my daughter plays basketball for Washington. And so they were just giving the information in case anybody was interested. They weren't saying you should do this or anything like that, but like, would that fall under this? Because this was a separate program. And they were just notifying the parents about it.
I would have to look deeper into what that is. I wouldn't. I wouldn't necessarily think so. Simply because it'd be no different than a drama teacher or a drama coach saying, hey, here's this play that we're thinking about going to. Because it would just be for their particular little group and not widespread amongst
Right.
everything.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's the same thing, because this would be like an ongoing team outside of the school.
Yeah, I would see a financial benefit because someone's going to be, you sign up for those leagues, it's
Sure.
to be in, so like that would advertise into the commercial. It's almost like a commercial entity if your kid's gonna do a travel league sport outside of school.
We will
Now,
have, then we will definitely have to do a better job of making sure that our principals are communicating with our ADs who are communicating with the coaches.
Okay.
Because I don't see that stuff here,
I mean, it wasn't posted anywhere. It was just in,
but even distributed.
yeah, it was in a mess. It wasn't even a paper that was given out.
Sure.
It was just a regular, like, hey, in case anybody's interested type of thing. So
Was it like via text or was it through?
it was through Sports U. That's how they communicate with the parents. They just said, the tryouts are this day. If anybody's interested, we just wanted to pass it along. So it didn't seem to me like it was, you know, I
Sure.
appreciated the
Yeah, I
information.
would.
I wasn't interested, but I just wanted to know like how deep it goes.
Yeah, we haven't normally gotten into the weeds that deep on that part.
Okay.
Good. Last topic for the evening, substitutes.
Yep, that list.
So as we've been looking at processes and just how personnel and things have changed, filling, especially our classified positions, are getting harder and harder. And we have substitutes that are working more days. So I just wanted to, Kim and I had been talking, and we wanted to make sure that you had a list, and you can see the number of substitutes that we have in the district. It is not a common practice of school districts to have substitutes approved by the school board, because they only work a day here and there, and they're in and out, and it does not make sense to necessarily have that go through on there. However, the concern that we have is we have a number of our subs that are doing like long-term subs. If we have an individual, and I'll take teachers for example, we have maternity leaves. Some of them are a year long, some of them are a month long, depending on what it is. It falls into two different categories. We have a temporary contract, and then we have a long sub. We bring those to the board for approval, simply so that we know who's in it. They're covered by our insurance and all that kind of stuff, because they're in there every day. One of the things that we are looking at doing, and this is going to be difficult for us to try to track, because I don't know exactly how it's going to play out, but we are having conversation of bringing our long-term subs in custodial and cafeteria, simply so that you know about them. You're looking at me funny.
No, I'm not looking at anybody.
Because they know we've been talking, Jackie and I was like, tell me I'm talking about what we're talking about. And the reason is, so if we have somebody who's gonna be in this position for like a month or something like that, we wanna bring it to the board's attention simply, and that way we also make sure that we're covered in the insurance, even though any employee is covered. We just wanna, for purposes, to ensure that this has been board approved on that particular part.
When he says long-term sub, how we're using people is that, in custodial staff and our kitchen staff, say somebody wants to work, but they don't want to work every day. So they say, I'll be a sub for you, we pay them less, they don't get benefits, but they're kind of working when they, as we did, so we call them if we're needing them. But we're relying on them a lot now. I mean, we have people who are regularly working that, year after year, because they like that flexibility in that schedule, and they're willing to come in when they want, but they're not willing all the time, and that's helped us out because we can't survive hiring up people. So.
It's when Dr. Case and I talked about it, my response to him was, well, why don't we just hire these people? Why are we calling them long-term custodians or long-term kitchen staff? And the response was, these people like to take more time off, frankly, than they're permitted to do as a regular employee. And so this gives them the flexibility. We pay them less benefits. It's worked out really well. I don't think that we could staff our staff without these people. I don't think we'd have enough custodians. I don't think we'd have enough kitchen staff. And so this is what you guys have been doing to kind of fill the gap, but it's working, right?
Yeah, because if we were to tell them that you're a full-time employee now, they would quit.
Is it worth creating like another tier called like ad hoc? I have no idea what to call it, but like to differentiate people who are just true subs versus someone who we can kind of count on to come back year after year.
Well, and that's why we're gonna call them long-term subs, and then just have the
Okay.
board approve them as a
Yeah.
long-term sub.
Oh, I like that.
Which is what the list is for.
Yep.
That's why you have the list here.
Well, the list here, yeah, these are all of our subs. This is all of our subs in custodial, cafeteria, aides, teachers.
It gets complicated as well because we hire people for one job, let's say night kitchen staff, right? But on learning days or on the summer, they want to do, they want to work, right? So then they go work for custodial staff. We have people who are sub teachers, sub nurses, sub aides, all in one. It could be any positions. I mean, we're kind of using them in different aspects.
And we're training them, for emergencies also, like to respond the same way as our like regular teachers.
They have not received CPR, or we allow that for our aides and our bus drivers in that, but not necessarily. They
But
don't
what
have-
about like the protocol of like a lockdown or a,
That's all in their subfolders,
okay.
so all the information is in there.
They're not trained for I thought they were trained for CPR.
All of our
I thought that was
substitute
part of
teachers,
the-
potentially, substitute, cafeteria and custodian,
Cafeteria
no.
staff, our normal staff isn't trained.
I do not believe it's part of the substitute license or the permit that you get from the state. I don't think CPRs are part of
Okay,
that.
it was
Teachers for sure are, but I don't think subs are.
Our custodial staff and our food service staff are not trained in CPR. Even our full-time staff is not trained.
So what's the ask?
Informational. And just to let you know that
That's a lot of
to
people.
make sure, that you're aware of the process and what we're looking at doing. And just to let you know that you may see some, long-term subs come in front of the board. The challenge is a sub, if we're going long-term, I don't know what the last date might be. Where with a substitute teacher, we know what the beginning and the end time is. Because the other part that we're looking at doing, if an individual hasn't subbed in a 12-month period, taking them off the list. That way we have it updated, and that way we can get a fresh background check on them and all that other kind of stuff.
People don't work for a while and they come to work and their bank accounts change, their check comes back. Creates
Question.
for us. I like to pay her employee in a lot of our systems, so it makes sense to pay for them if they're not working.
On long-term subs, if somebody's been here like 3, 4 years, what's our policy to refresh? Because I know for our full-time staff, right, they get checked,
A background check?
yeah, like every X years.
Every
For
5 years.
Yeah, it doesn't, it's all the
For-
same.
subs, it would be the same every 5 years. Okay, just curious. I think
The
that's.
system doesn't distinguish between job categories, just that your background check is 5 years old, it's tied to
Calls anyone.
renewal.
So when you say the current pay rate, first one here is up in the name, the note that is, that's 90, that's 90.
So
That's
that's
a day.
all, right, that's all
Per day.
approved. So all those rates are approved
Right.
outside of those positions,
Okay.
yes.
I'm a little bit, so I noticed like on one side, there's like $90, $80, and on the other side, it has like $23 or,
Those are per hour.
okay, that's right, so the set, so the right.
Some of the bus drivers are paid per day and some are per hour, but it's 3 hours a day, so if you multiply the 2350 times 3 is 7050. Just.
Because we even have some like teachers that are paid hourly, it looks like too.
That's per day.
That's per day, and even the one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down on the right column. I don't want to say the name because I don't know if that's.
So that's when she works as a sub aide, so her first job, her first pay record is a sub aide for us.
Okay.
So but if she's a teacher, she's getting paid a different rate, she subs for a classroom per day.
Okay.
So it'll be when she goes into the office.
Oh, gotcha.
And that might be something that we want to look at too, even especially with our substitute teachers. Some of the local districts have increased their sub pay. Ours have been pretty stagnant for a while.
I know that Valparaiso, they offer like if you sub a certain amount of days within a certain amount of time, they give them like bonuses or something to kind of cut down on the sub shortage. I don't know how we are with sub shortages right now, but for teachers, I know that like.
Holes every day.
What's that?
We have holes every day.
Yeah, sure.
I couldn't tell you exactly what their bonuses look like, but it's like, you know, for, I think it's like per quarter, per semester, if they pick up a certain amount of days, then they get like some sort of incentive for it. Yes.
That's a lot of people.
We have gaps every day.
Yeah.
We have gaps
Still have
every day.
gaps, yeah.
It's nice that we can offer that flexibility though, letting them kind of work in the school.
It's been a good fit for us, so we'll make sure we're sharing that information.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
That's all I have for you this evening.
Well, then we don't vote, but I would say that we are at adjournment. Good information, thank you.
There's a storm system.
More storms are coming.
Another line.
Has to be, because we went from cold to warm, there has to be